Now, an ally of President Cyril Ramaphosa in the Free State has gained the upper hand ahead of the governing party's Provincial Elective Conference. A faction that supports Mxolisi Dukwana for ANC Free State chairperson has won the Mangaung Regional Conference ahead of the Provincial Conference in the coming days. But while the regional conference was underway, a parallel conference took place in Bloemfontein. Reporter Moloko Moloto is keeping an eye on the proceedings and joins me now live. Moloko, firstly, the keys couldn't be found to an office for nomination papers, and now it seems as though things have come underway to a certain extent. Perhaps just tell us what the latest is.
Well, Heidi, the latest is that the regional conference of Mangaung, and I must point out because there are two regional conferences that are taking place. This one that we are at is the one that has been given the go-ahead by the High Court in Bloemfontein. You would recall that disgruntled ANC members who wanted to stop this conference tried to get a court order to interdict this particular Congress. They did not want it to go ahead because they were saying that processes leading to the nomination at the branch level were fraught with irregularities. But the High Court dismissed their application with cause, giving the green light or the go-ahead to this particular Congress. Now, unhappy with that decision of the High Court, they then decided to meet at a different venue and hold their own conference. So there are two parallel conferences. And last night to be specific, those who are meeting at the President Hotel in the CBD in Bloemfontein elected their own leaders. And now here at the Imvelo Safari Lodge, where this conference that's been given the go-ahead by the court, also elected their own leaders, but only a short while ago. And those who were elected, I must say that of the top five, 4 of them were elected unopposed, including Chairperson Mr. Lawrence Matai, who is a known ally of Mxolisi Dukwana, who is going for the position of Provincial Chairperson. And Dukwana is certainly an ally of President Cyril Ramaphosa. He has said so himself that he wants Ramaphosa to be elected. Only the position of Deputy Chairperson in this conference is being contested. Now, what is interesting, Heidi, is that while you would think that members of the ANC Interim Provincial Committee would be attending this particular conference, we have some members instead, the likes of the likes of the MEC of Health in this province have decided to attend that particular parallel conference. So that tells you already that the factions are that deep and the tensions are almost palpable. Obviously, being the year of conference, people are already nailing their colors to the mast as to who they want for the provincial chairperson, but also for the national conference. Speaking of the provincial conference, the people who are contesting for that province, prominent names is Mxolisi Dukwana, and with his people now being elected for the region of Mangaung. And also, I must point out, in Legitimacy, another region which includes the town of Welkom, there's a conference underway there, and that's where Mxolisi Dukwana comes from. So he's hoping at least to win these two conferences so that he can go into the provincial conference with numbers. Now, we spoke to Thabo Manyoni, who is also contesting for this position, and he's saying he's confident that he's going to win. Thabo Manyoni is formerly the executive mayor of Mangaung, and when we asked him as to who between Dr. Zweli Mkhize of the and Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the ANC, who he supports ahead of the national conference, Manyoni was like, look, do all of them really deserve to come back? So he did not really commit as to who he supports between those two candidates. But he is blaming Mxolisi Dukwana, who is the convener of the IPC in the province, of failing to unite the branches in this province of the Free State. Let's listen to Thabo Manyoni, who says if it were up to him, these two regional conferences should have been stopped today.
I'm for unity. I went to all people who have been supporting Magashule before and said, look here, it is high time that we build the African National Congress in the province, and therefore let's all work together. And of course, most of them have agreed to do that. And of course, as you know, that I've been a CR supporter, as it is called. I've also said to our CR supporters, let's work also with those people that we were never seeing eye to eye, to make sure that we build this African National Congress. That's why I'm saying it's a sad state of affairs that at the moment you still are having factional regional conferences that is happening. If I were Dukwana, I would really feel very much embarrassed, because this is an indication that he has failed to unite this African National Congress. But nonetheless, can't just blame an individual. I think it's upon us as the members of the African National Congress, as we move towards the Provincial Conference, to come together and bring all these factions together.
Now, Moloko, we know that the ANC has constantly sent out the message to say that the party is unified and everybody stands together, especially ahead of the ANC elective conference in a week or so, 2 weeks or so. But it seems as though there are serious issues, especially in the Free State. You got a chance to speak to Mxolisi Dukwana. What does he have to say about all of this?
So, Heidi, divisions in this province and also in Mangaung. By the way, Mangaung is the birthplace of the African National Congress. The ANC was founded here, as many of our viewers would be aware, in 1912. And now, really, to see these factions playing out, almost everybody believing that they deserve to be leaders, a contradistinction of what happened when the ANC was founded, when Pixley Kaisa Kaseme, the man who organized that inaugural Congress of the ANC, decided that he was not going to contest for the position of president. Ironically, now you have everybody, almost everybody, believing that they must be leaders. So we did not manage to speak to Mxolisi Dukwana today, Heidi, because he did not come to this particular conference. He was here yesterday. Today, as I say, he was actually in Leisurely Putswa in Velcom. My understanding is that obviously as this convener, he had to go there and open that particular regional conference. But when we spoke to him yesterday, of course, that was before we spoke to Thabo Manyoni, he was speaking generally about the state of affairs. Firstly, he acknowledged when we spoke to him last week that, look, as much as our mandate was to resuscitate, revive, and make sure we unite the branches and members of the ANC in the province, we are not satisfied and happy with the progress and the work we have done. We still believe we should do more. And yesterday, he was really livid at the fact that some of the members in the interim provincial committee who ought to have, align themselves with the High Court judgment, which gave this particular conference we are at the thumbs up, decided to go and attend that particular parallel conference. So he was saying such members are ill-disciplined. Let's listen to him as he was talking about that particular matter.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunate that the level of ill-discipline will be demonstrated in the manner in which it is now. We are not surprised, in fact, since the beginning of the establishment of the IPC, the IRC, some of the elements here in Mangaung, to be specific, have actually demonstrated that they do not welcome the decision of the NEC to appoint the interim structure. They've openly declared themselves outside the functioning of the organization in many ways. In some instances, they went to court demanding that we should take them to a regional conference. They wanted their BBGMs, and we said to them, we've been saying we need to really get this the organization ready and make sure that when we do these things, we are all ready. And I'm surprised that they feel that we did not listen to them when we did.
Well, look, I'm still stuck on the fact that the office was locked and nobody had the keys to that. So maybe just give us some clarity as to, was that done on purpose, and what does the ANC in the Free State say about that?
So, Heidi, for every conference of the ANC, what will happen is that the process will start either at the regional level or the province or even national. The process of nomination will start at the branch level. In other words, each and every branch will make a nomination as to who they prefer for a particular position, and they will also then nominate delegates who will be attending that particular conference and making a vote on the behalf of that particular branch. So what happened was that the nominations happened despite the fact that there are allegations of irregularities, hence there are so many disputes leading to this separate or two parallel conferences. Now, what we were told was that as we went into plenary before the nomination started, one IPC member of the ANC did say that there are no packages. These are the forms that have been certified reflecting the will and the wishes of branches. In other words, there ought to be names of people nominated for certain positions, and they would have met the threshold and they would automatically stand for election here. They would be on the ballot, although the constitution of the ANC provides that those who did not even meet the threshold at the branch level can still be nominated. At least 25% of the delegates, if they nominate them, they will stand for election. So those packages were not here, and obviously they are in the custody of the provincial coordinator and equivalent of the provincial secretary. So according to what we are being told, the secretary has said that he will not be able to bring them here, or the coordinator, because they are in the same box, we are told, with the packages for the national conference and the provincial conference. So when they are opened, obviously there's a bit of a delicacy there. So the conference, this regional conference, was then forced to abandon that particular process of considering people who were nominated at the branch level, and all the people, the top 5 in particular, were then nominated from the branches. And as I said, 4 of them uncontested. Only for the position of deputy chairperson they are going to vote for that. We spoke to Mr. Saki Mokoena. Many of the people would know him as Saki Mofokeng. He is a member of the IPC, and he obviously also is working in the office of the ANC president, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and he was explaining that process as well. But in the process, he, was very harsh on people who decided to hold a parallel conference, while the court has said that this particular conference must go ahead. Let's listen to Mr. Saki Mokoena.
This is the conference that is endorsed by the IPC in the Free State. So it is a legitimate conference of the ANC in Mangaung. That is why we are here, several of us from the IPC, and the convener of the IPC was here. Secondly, we do acknowledge that there are those comrades who went to court after having exhausted internal issues in terms of the national dispute resolution. And as a law-abiding organization, we had to await the outcome of the court processes, which says that all is in the clear legally in terms of the ANC constitution and processes. And that's why the IPC yesterday gave its final condonation for the conference to proceed. Coming to your question, the region, what they did in terms of preserving the integrity of the process, they deposited the envelopes for the nomination of the region together in the same bigger envelope with the nominations for national. That's how they ended up at the level of the provincial office. Necessarily, the custodian of the regional nominations is the regional interim structure itself. Now, it became an unfortunate incident whereby they ended up being locked together with those of national, and it was a difficulty to secure them in the process. But however, Remember that nominations are nomination. The matter was placed before conference after having sought advice from the national leadership in terms of how to manage the matter. And the conference, being the highest decision-making body in the region, took a decision that over and above what will have been nominated, the final arbiter on who becomes the regional leadership, it is a conference itself which is provided for in terms of the constitution and the rules, and the nominations had to be raised from the floor.
Okay, thank you so much for that update. That's our reporter Moloko Moloto.